Here we go. And hey everyone, happy Friday. I'll do the official intro in just a little bit, but yeah. Everyone else, say hi to Jake. How's it going, Jake?
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. Yeah, this is I can't remember if it was Zuko, I think, was or Zuko or Aditya was recommending I chat with you a long time ago. I was like, oh, okay. And then I just see, oh, yeah, this guy's on, all over the place spending things and something you don't really see advertised a whole lot in the Zcash community. And I just like have to talk to him now, you know? All right. All right. So, random pop quiz. When was the last time you spent Zcash as of like right now?
Has a little bit. I've been the last month or so has been pretty slammed with work and just family things. So it
Hmm.
has been probably about a couple of weeks since I have went spending, but look forward to doing it pretty soon. Pretty soon.
Yeah, that's a couple of weeks is not that bad. I mean, for people who actually use crypto on the regular, there's very few of us, and a couple of weeks is still considered semi-regular. I know I was in Amsterdam for a conference a few weeks ago, and sought out this one place that took Bitcoin, and then because it's all transparent, no shielding there. They had I got to see how often people paid Bitcoin there because they just reuse the same address over and over, and it was like the last one before me was like 8 months. So if one business is like 8 months, it's like, ugh, that's not that frequent. So I think anyone would let you off the hook for like, you know, not in 2 weeks.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm off the hook.
Yeah. Hilawi commented in the YouTube chat, it says first ever vehicle passenger podcast. I'm pretty sure not. I mean, I might have had a vehicle driver podcast at one point, but I'm not going to out anyone on that. Anyway, let me, yeah, I guess since I already showed off on the thing, I'm going to hit on this later, but I don't usually drink Dunks, despite it being a very regional favorite here in New England. But I managed to spend Zcash on it today, and it went quite well. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. Might be about a good time to roll the intro graphic and then just get right on into the show. All right? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. So, hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to the Zcash Podcast, the one and only, proudly funded and made possible by the Zcash Community Grant. Thing to do to be able to facilitate a lot more, community engagement, things like that. I'm joined by the one and only Jake. Actually, there's probably more than one guy named Jake out there, but this is the Jake of ZecSpending or ZecSpends on Twitter. I believe Life of Jacob is also something you go by too for less specific to that. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Thanks for having me. I've actually been looking forward to this, so ready to get right to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so the entire theme of this specific show, because the Zcash podcast is to a certain extent me getting paid a little bit to just explore Zcash and learn everything, which sounds a little bit too good to be true. But I do produce actual content out of that, so it's not like I'm just taking money or being a leech or anything. But as part of this, so the intro graphic that I ran, obviously I paid my designer in Zcash to do that for the show, and I obviously have spent and used Zcash wherever I could before, but mostly I was using other cryptos wherever I could, and I've been meaning to just sort of dive in because there's been a lot of theoretical stuff. I chatted with Zuko last month. I chatted with, Aditya of Nighthawk. I chat with like a lot of people, Seth for Privacy came to give a little more critical take. Naomi Brock on to talk about all the about privacy and stuff. And we're six. This is episode 7, right? 6 months in. This is the second half of the year of this round of podcasts, and I figured, why not actually kind of hone in on it. All right, this is a great theory. Let's hit on the practice. Let's hit on how useful is this? How can we use it? And so then that's kind of where you jump in. So if you wouldn't mind telling the viewers at home, who are you and how'd you get into crypto?
Well, this is I can make it a little bit short of a story, but basically I was trading stocks and got into some of the like Marathon and some of the like Bitcoin mining stocks, and they tanked. So I was like, I don't want to own something that like I don't physically own, and downloaded Coinbase for the first time, and found myself into a very interesting crypto. I didn't start with either Bitcoin or anything like that. I felt like they were too expensive for me at the time. So I started with something that I just saw popped up on my like little banner. It was called AMP. So I bought some AMPs, cool, and that was my first crypto token for the most part. I think I bought like Doge on Robinhood once or twice, but like I didn't really know what crypto was at that point. I think it was a couple of months in when I was doing my own due diligence on like what AMP was, because at first I was just buying anything that I thought would make me some money. And then I actually started like seeing that there was tech behind it, and like there were different types of blockchains and different tokens, and they all had different use cases. So I was just starting to do a bunch of research, because I really love anything tech, and this was like kind of like right up my alley. And somewhere along the way, that is when I kind of saw what AMP could really do, and then like payments is something that like I work in a health type agency. And receiving payments for a little small business like us, we get hit over the head every single time we want to receive any type of payment, unless it's cash or a check, and that's always difficult in a small business. So when I saw there was something that could help with payments, I really started doing a little bit more like due diligence and started really researching and like diving into this whole space. And that's like how I got into crypto.
Yeah, so just the payments angle, that's kind of interesting. So where did Zcash come along for you?
Well, along my research into AMP and what Flexa was, I came upon either like a tweet or an article somewhere where I saw someone who looked like I had seen him before. Like I didn't know where, but I just kind of seen someone that looked kind of familiar. So I like started to research who that person was. And then when I saw the name Zuku, I just kind of like, I've heard that before somewhere. I couldn't really put my finger on it or what. And that's when I saw Zcash and I started like researching what Zcash was. I think it was like around like January of 2022-ish, maybe late 2021. And that's when I don't remember which wallet. I think it was the Lite Zcash wallet was doing the Cypherpunk Zero NFT like crypto message type thing. So that's when I got to like see what the encrypted messages look like and what shielded meant and like certain things like that. And when I heard what the capabilities were behind Zcash, I was like, done. Like that is how is that not more popular? Why haven't I heard about it like bigger? Like you hear Bitcoin every single day, but it's one of the reasons I never got into crypto too much, because like that was like one of the first things I ever heard was a public ledger, and I was like, why would I ever want my financial private stuff that most people don't have access to? Why would I want that on the web just for anyone to find? So like I never really messed with any of the cryptos just because I saw it was all like public. And when I heard the whole privacy thing, I was like, that is interesting, and that's sort of diving down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's so that of course leads to privacy. And why does privacy matter to you specifically? Now, because everyone has a different kind of story on that whole thing. A lot of people with like more like cypherpunk ethos and afraid of the government, all this kind of stuff. And then you get to, it seems like you have a relatively mainstream entry into the space of just like, oh, I'm going to trade some stuff, try to make a quick buck. Oh, let me get into this technology. Oh, I'm in the payment space. But why is privacy the thing that you really like focused in on?
I saw that it's something that was needed. And like you hear about a data leak in some type of company, like every other day, there's some type of article about all this information. If you use, like, I use T-Mobile and I get an email every couple of months that it was like, you might want to change your password because, whoops, we made a mistake and some of your personal information might have gone to the wrong parties. And when I, like, the whole private side of money to me is like the only thing that we have like that is cash.
Hmm.
And if there is a digital version of that that could act like cash, like that, to me, people need to know about that. So that was kind of like when I heard about it, and like I was dumbfounded, and I don't usually get dumbfounded. So like when I get dumbfounded on something, like I just got to tell people, and like that's kind of where. And then I found out it was spendable, and I was like, "Ooh, that is even better." So now I can legit show people that it's
Mm-hmm.
something that is viable in this world.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny how like the whole privacy and digital cash angle. I've spent a lot of time trying to educate people about this because some people really get it right away. Some people really don't. A lot of people are, why do I care about privacy? And not just like, well, oh, it's obvious. Who's going to use something where everyone can see it? And like the whole public ledger, like a lot of times when you hear that and that makes sense, that most people just hear that and they're just like, well, that's the marketing that's how you describe the tech. Then that they don't think further than that. And to pick up on that nugget is kind of interesting. Now, let's hit on the next thing, the next element of that, which is how why does it matter so much that you have sort of privacy for small spending, like let's say coffee? Like why does that part of the privacy equation really matter to you?
I find that, so like for a small purchase, like I would never want a, like anyone on something that's so minute as a coffee purchase for there to be a possibility that they find out like what my entire bank account looks like, where my mortgage is held, all these different types of things that can be leaked into a system where there's like a data breach. And so like for these small purchases, I mean, even large purchases is very important, but like usually when you're making a large purchase, there's some type of like credit check or like financial records behind it. So it's like they have some of that information to begin with. But with like little small purchases, like I would never want to like have to show my entire balance. Like that's, to me, sounds like I could be targeted, and like I'll just don't. It just kind of weirds me out. Like anytime I've heard of a bank data breach, like I've had it happen once in my little small Delta community bank, and it's pretty terrifying when like you get an email. It's like, hey, by the way, someone may know everything about you. And it's like, whoa, I didn't do anything. So it's just like having that privacy is something that really, like, option of it is just like very intriguing to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's for sure. And I'm gonna throw up this tweet that you did on the screen about while I was dipping into the 12 days of Flexa, my cashier asked the right questions. Now she can spend her family money with minimal fees and her privacy intact. Power of Zcash. It's a picture of you with a little bit more of a trimmed up beard there, tipping this nice lady with Zcash. It looks like Y Wallet from the picture, but I can't necessarily tell. But
Yes,
so
it was my wallet.
yeah, and so it's kind of funny because I did when I got the coffee today for the first time. One of the guys at the Dunks noticed my shirt and was like, "Oh, I only recognize Bitcoin. What are the other ones?" And I just had a little conversation. I said, "I actually see this one. I'm doing it in reverse. This one right here, the little Zcash one, that's the one I just used to buy the coffee just now." I'm like, really? Whoa! And I just showed him the whole thing, and it's kind of interesting how the conversation starters kind of happen. Like if someone pulls out a card, like a Amex or a Discover or one of the less known, like I guess bank cards, and then I wouldn't say less known, but like less known than like Visa and Mastercard. no one's gonna be like, wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while. There's no like conversation about, yeah, you know what? Do you know what's actually cool about Discover? Like, no one does that. But then with cryptos, especially Zcash, when you get to talk about the principles of privacy and why that actually matters, and that can be kind of an interesting thing. But which so I see you spending Flexa, spending Zcash, and tweeting. You have a whole Twitter account just for that. How did you end up being, other than just you got into Zcash and found out this is interesting? How did you end up being the guy that spends stuff mostly with Flexa, but spends Zcash and puts it all over Twitter?
Um, well, I was doing it for religiously for a few months, just because like Zcash to me is just like the whole privacy thing is like it's one integral to like just I think the future, but also it's like kind of fun because it's not a known crypto. I would say like I had no idea really about it until like I really got into the space a little bit. So like getting to go to like places like Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins, and Nordstrom and things like that, and like introducing other people to something that they have no idea about,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to pay for what I just wanted to buy with that magic fake money to them. Like it was fun to me. Like it was like really entertaining, and like then they got to learn about how it actually worked because without fail, it doesn't matter where you go to spend. Um, I mean, no, that's not true. Petco, I never get asked what I spent, but for pretty much anywhere else, they're like, "What was that?" And I was like, "Oh, I just spent crypto," and they look at me confused, and I'm like Bitcoin, and they look at me confused, and I'm like, "Well, this one was Zcash. It's completely private, so my history is kind of safe, and your history is kind of safe if you decided to use it, but it's kind of like the same technology in a sense, but minus Bitcoin not being private." And they're like, "Wait, you mean that one that everyone talks about is not private?" And it just always goes down the line of like, I get asked every time, "Why haven't I heard about Zcash?" And it's like, I asked it myself that when I first learned about it. Like, it should be more known. So getting to spin was always just like a treat for me. It was
Mm-hmm.
like fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that I think that it really helped out, Zcash, as you would say, maybe a lesser known crypto today, to get that kind of pop is being able to spend in kind of an easy way through Flexa, or specifically the Spedden app. And I know there's other kind of integrations and things coming soon, and I don't know on what time frame or whatever. But it seems like that's like the number one way most people have kind of spent their Zcash. And we flip over this tweet thing about your Feel Good Friday, this with the Zec for coffee transaction, and then you have your history of like all the times you spent at Baskin Robbins, or which is, I guess it's the same parent company as Dunkin'. Now there's a merger, and so Baskin Robbins stuff works at Dunkin' Donuts, and so basically this is like proof of coffee right here. And
Hmm.
also you went through a big Twitter thread here about like how many things you could do in a normal day. Can you have a go through a normal day shopping at multiple stores and only use digital assets? Challenge accepted. Today I will only spend Zcash. And so, first off, you got the coffee or the some iced coffee at Dunkin', and then you got Bed Bath and Beyond, and then Nordstrom Rack, get some shoes, and then Ulta, which that's a great way to making sure you have nothing else to spend after that because they really destroy you right there. Oh, and then Chipotle, of course, ends up here. And so this is just one service that kind of like allows this whole kind of thing. Have you found, first of all, since you've been using this has been like my first time ever using Flexa specifically. Have the options changed very much in the time you've been using it?
Options in terms of
Like where you,
merchants,
yeah.
there's been a few additions. It's actually like one of my best memories to date, probably, or top five memories in crypto Web3 space would be the day that Chipotle went live with Flexa, because I got to go spend Zcash and buy burritos, and it was to me like the coolest thing because like all the like coffee is one thing, and like I don't like Dunkin', it's like I don't know, but like when they announced Chipotle, when I got a burrito with like Zcash, I don't know. To me, that was like huge. Like I could not eat meals. Like getting a coffee and like a donut, like you couldn't really sustain anything on that. But like I like Chipotle. If I had to, I could go eat there probably once or twice a day and like
Mm-hmm.
maintain a little bit. So like when I got to go use like crypto at Chipotle, I was just like, what? This isn't like this is too much. And then there was a couple merchants that were added recently, like kind of like a home goods type store. I can't think of the
Yeah.
name of it right now. But we tried there. Bed Bath and Beyond was an awesome one because they actually have a self-service terminal, so you actually
Mm-hmm.
don't have to speak to anyone. You just click the buttons and point your Zcash where you want to spend it, and it was really fun, really seamless, and it was just I can't wait for more.
Yeah,
I can't wait for
absolutely.
a grocery store is my. I will never. I will only spend Zcash forever if I could go to a grocery store. Like if
Yeah.
I could walk into Publix right now and just always pay with crypto, I would. I could fully live off of it. I think.
Yeah, well, that's a cool thing. So I've been in the space for. I mean, anyone who watches the show obviously knows my stuff, but I've been using crypto at least 10 years, like right around then, and then I stopped being paid in dollars and fiat in 2015 at the very end of the year. So I've been just doing the whole crypto experiment, like kind of like what you're doing, but literally but because I had the personal flexibility and the insanity to just literally do that with everything, and just if I can't figure it out, I better find a way to sell some for cash so I can do this because I'm not doing the bank stuff. And so in those years, in the early years, like 2015, 2016, there was this app. It was kind of like the proto Flexa called Gift, GYFT, and Gift will let you buy gift cards with Bitcoin, and they would be like $10, $25, like bigger increments like that. And after a while, they started making you wait for a whole confirmation to buy that. And so a lot of people, is a very useful tool because you're like, oh, I'm going to go, you know, go to the shopping mall, go buy something at, say TJ Maxx or, wherever else. And then people would just have gift cards. It's primarily like a gift card app that just happened to take crypto as well. Like you could store all your gift cards and kind of cycle through them. And it was kind of clunky. And then over time, like the user experience window of like how much does this suck kind of start has been going in and in and in and in and in. So probably in the terms of user experience, in the top three, I put number three now at Bitrefill. And Bitrefill lets you buy stuff with crypto, like gift cards and stuff. They do let you buy precise amounts. So like for the exact, like let's say you go to Chipotle and it's like $12.98 is whatever your burrito is. You can buy a Chipotle gift card for $12.98, and then they could scan it and kind of pay. Now, some cryptos, like the one I use most there is Dash, which is instant, and so you can kind of, if you're willing to like kind of have the line build up behind you a little bit, you can actually wait until you get the amount that you have to spend, enter it, buy the gift card, and then scan it right there, and never have any like extra gift credit or anything, which is pretty cool. Now there's an app called it's actually called a few different things. It's Ionia is the company, and it's very similar to Bitrefill, but a much better kind of user experience. It's built into the Cake wallet, for example. There's a standalone Dash Direct app and stuff. That's the exact same thing, except it's a little bit smoother. But there's still like the clunkiness of like you have to send a crypto transaction. It has to get confirmed, or it has to be recognized, even though it's very, very fast. And then you have to get like a gift card delivery. And with Flexa, you deposit. And I guess that might be the friction part, is waiting for a deposit to confirm, unless you just have a running balance on the app. But you just get the QR code, and you don't have to like lock in the exact amount and then scan it. You can just scan it whenever. So you just come with your phone, and then you just say gift card. At least that's what I did at Dunkin'. I'm sure every merchant is different, but just say gift card. They just scan it, and then just like deducted the exact amount that the order was for. I didn't have to do any other stuff. So I would put that as number one of like these spending assist kind of tools for crypto. Is Flexa, is just being able to like do it right there. And then obviously, like I think the I deposited like around $18 or $19 worth of Zcash yesterday. And then today, because of the price, it was up to like 21 or 22. So I got a little bit of extra stuff. I didn't have to pre-buy gift credit that then, so if you like the price exposure, that helps too. And so definitely I would say Flexa is like number one on that user experience list as far as that's concerned. Now, before we dive into some other stuff on that, I don't actually, again, this is just stuff you see floating around on Twitter. Madison is some young lady who has this pretty popular spending with Flexa kind of video at Dunkin'. I'm just gonna go play that for the folks. You've seen that one before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me see if I can get with some
Crypto, that sounds kind of crazy, huh? Crypto, you just paid with crypto. Crypto.
Always makes me kind of chuckle when I see that one. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting kind of mind blow to get people, to kind of see how that works. But yeah, so, and then obviously, as I said, I used this earlier today to buy the coffee. But other than that, do you have any things that are personal favorites as far as like avenues to actually spend Zcash other than just the Flexa app?
I don't know if you were done with your question. You broke up for just a second, but
Yes.
I actually haven't really been able to spend other than on Flexa. What you described in your 3 examples of like assisting tools to spend crypto, I hate going through anything of the first 2. I've downloaded the wallet that it's like BitTrue, I think, or no, Bit something, where you send to your one wallet and you have a debit card. I've downloaded the Uphold wallet, which has like kind of like the same thing. You can transfer from one wallet balance to another wallet balance, and then you can go swipe it like a regular debit card. And it's like all of those different types of interactions to me just never were, like, it didn't hit home. So like I just never was too interested in it. The simplicity of just sending it once to an address is, like, to me, game changer. And like I've always taken that as like a beta type app. So like I think there's going to be another iteration that's not where you have to send it to one thing or another. So like me knowing it's a beta, like I would send my weekly allotment of what I thought I was going to spend at Dunkin' or at Chipotle or at a couple different like random shops, and I would just leave it there, and then it would just kind of keep pulling up little bits. Sorry, I had a phone call. It kept pulling little bits and little bits before there were just like extra balances, and it was just, so I love, like, it was easy to spend, so I'm going to spend it. Everything else just seemed like there was a couple extra steps involved, and just wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny about that is it does seem like it's in Zcash. I have kind of experienced both sides of the spectrum as far as the easiest, like the most tolerance for bad user experience, and I guess in your case the least tolerance for bad user experience, right? Where it's like, okay, my friend Neil, I remember as soon as, like, basically right after Zcash launched, he was like really soon after it launched, he ended up spending his shielded transaction like way in the early days to buy something from a shop that happened to take Zcash. And I remember he took his laptop into the shop, and on his command line wallet, right? He's just typing in stuff like that. His command line wallet, he types in some stuff, and he's generating the transaction for like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. And after a while, it just like finally goes through, and he was like, "Yeah, I paid with maximum privacy. I use Zcash, shielded, awesome." And I mean, I wouldn't have done that probably. But then we get to this end thing of, okay, well, if it's not as easy as Flexa, you can't just go scan, then maybe let's wait till the technology is a little bit more ready. One thing, now we were talking about, this is something where in the crypto ecosystem, as far as like the greater crypto ecosystem, I feel like Zcash has Flexa going for it, which is that's the kind of the ace in the hole right now. As far as other things, it required a little bit more looking, at least for me, because I'm used to spending all kinds of different cryptos. Like obviously, I've used Bitcoin, heavy Dash user, used Monero here and there. Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash are also quite useful around stuff, and so I like my own patterns of like what I like to get for it. If you don't have any bank account or anything to deal with, and I had to kind of find some new things with Zcash. Now I will of course give a shout out. I'm going to put it up on the screen here to paywithz.cash. If you go there, if you have any place that takes Zcash, hit them up and get it listed there. It's just a listing of a whole lot of different places that accept Zcash. A lot of these are through Flexa, but also just other random, services and stuff. And so one thing I've noticed also is a lot of these are donations. So one thing I found that has not been difficult at all has been donating to stuff with Zcash. And so I found out that it seems like it's kind of funny to see where people prioritize this kind of stuff. Like a lot of people in say the Bitcoin or the Dash or Litecoin space seem to be more into they don't want to use the government money. They want to use this stuff. And privacy of using that is we'll see. But first and foremost, I want to use this. I don't like fiat. And then the Zcash community seems to be, I would say, much more selective in how they use it. Which on the one hand means, I guess, less total usage than maybe some, at least at this stage, than maybe some of these other coins. But then at the same time, much more focused on the privacy preservation of doing that. And it seems like the nexus of all that is, well, it's really easy to just send to someone on a donation site. You don't have to deal with checkouts or the payment processor, all this kind of friction. But at the same time, it's well, you have your very legitimate life of swiping your bank card to pay for dunks or whatever it is. But then when it comes to who you're going to voluntarily donate what causes, sometimes that ends up getting a little spicier or at least more private to you. And then you'd like to kind of shield that, for lack of a better term, right? Shield that from the public eye. And that seems to be where the donation theme for Zcash seems to be thriving. And I just think that's kind of an interesting thing. Have you used a lot of, have you done a lot of donations with Zcash, including to some of these nonprofits and stuff?
I haven't. I typically just spend all of it.
Yeah.
As much, or I buy what I know I can go out and spend. If I know I'm going to spend a little bit more, if I know I'm going to a place that accepts it, I'm just going to, I try to just only spend Zcash there. So but no, I haven't done any of the donating.
Yeah. And so that's the really good thing about having a wide community is that you get to have different needs kind of pulling at the direction of the whole project as a whole. And so, for example, a lot of people are kind of outside, well, and I did this Twitter thread on where can you spend Zcash? And it seems like most people are saying you can donate to this person, you can donate to that. And that's where a lot of the headspace is, but you can't, feed yourself on donating to, political activists or refugees or whatever it is. And then we get the, is it going to work in a point of sale environment easily? And then that kind of drags things in that direction. And so a little bit in the middle of all this, one thing that I found that is maybe not for the impatient, obviously use Flexa wherever you can if you want things to kind of be fast and smooth and seamless. But for people who just don't want to have fiat, they want to just only use this, or they get paid or whatever on the side in shielded Zcash, and then they don't want to commingle it with their identity in any way. They want to keep that private and only use it privately. One service I found out that works quite well is a site called Coinsbee, which lets you it lets you buy all kinds of different gift cards, including Amazon, including some prepaid digital cards or whatever, all without using your identity for the most part. And so for me, like for example, don't have it on me now, but I've been experimenting with a whole privacy rabbit hole as far as device privacy and things like that. And as part of that, a lot of payment apps like Google Pay, those kinds of things, don't really work super well on, Graphene OS or phones that don't have Google services on it. And so so I used Coinsbee not too long ago to buy Amazon credit to then buy a smartwatch that hopefully I could still use to put like the payment apps and stuff on. I'm still experimenting with that, but the point is you can buy stuff off of Amazon, and that kind of gets you into almost like anything. So definitely, if I were to tell people, and I definitely think that if people have Zcash and they're interested in it, they should try to find ways of spending it. I would encourage everyone to jump on the Flexa train, obviously, for the actual smooth as butter experience. But between that and Coinsbee, at least in the U.S., but also in other countries, I'm sure, you get a lot of coverage from, you can basically spend it on like most things. Like if that's the only money you have, or that's what you really want to or need to spend, those two things kind of cover most things. But yeah, I just think that's pretty cool. ZecHub is in the chat. He says, honk twice for the chat. Well, I don't think you need to be disturbing traffic over there. Some people get very upset and that kind of things. So have you experienced any kinds of difficulties or challenges in spending Zcash around?
Yes. So nothing, to me, it's nothing like to do with Zcash. It all just has to do with like the wider sentiment of like the market. But like, there are definite places that I've gone and attempted to like talk to the owners, and like they've already like, or there's this one pizza place down in Gardens that basically it says on their door they accept Bitcoin Cash. So like I was like, I've gone there probably like 20 times to speak to their manager, owners, everyone, to try to get them on Zcash. And every time I go there, it's a different story, and it always leads to, oh, we don't even use Bitcoin. We don't even know what that thing really works. We've never really actually used it. Oh, isn't that crashing right now? Or like, oh, I don't want to touch that. And it's like, it's so tough to. It's like I'm trying to help you, but they just look at it as like, oh, what are you trying to sell me? It's some type of blah blah blah, and that is my pain. Like anytime I go and try to explain what this could do, or how it's used, or X, Y, and Z, they often, as soon as you say crypto, they're like in one ear out the other, just looking at the time.
Yeah. At the same time as like, I have noticed when things are hot, people look at you like, oh, what's up with this? And then like, maybe I can get in on this thing by like being one person who does that. And it's definitely like the PR kind of way of like getting new customers, being like, oh, we're cool too. Look, we take crypto. That seems to be one of the biggest attracting things for merchants. But yeah, so now we're hit the privacy thing, which of course is the biggest part of this, right? So, and this is something because I've had conversations, like for me, I got sold on decentralized digital cash the government doesn't control and is not tied to your identity. I got sold on that a long time ago. And so now I'm just in that, how do I use it? And sometimes when I pop my head back out to try to get other people on board, I hit into this, like, some questions about like, well, why I don't want to do that because it's not private. I'd rather do this. And so the kind of devil's advocate side of this whole thing of the reason you use Zcash is for financial self-sovereignty, yes, but the big selling point is privacy. But now if you use transparent addresses, like for example, when you deposit in Flexa, you send to a T address, it's not, so they can't tell, no one can tell where it came from or whatever, they just tell that that address received this much. And using like KYC services, like for example, giving your ID to Coinbase or something in order to do all this. Do you think any of that kind of makes it pointless to use something like Zcash, like a privacy preserving tool, if you use it in some ways that may not maximize your privacy. Have you thought about that whole concept very much?
Definitely. I think everyone has their own kind of like financial and privacy layer that they want themselves to be private from. To me, certain things are required. So
Mm-hmm.
like for me, like Coinbase getting my identity, like I'm not getting around that. And if I want to involve myself in this space the way that I know how to, it's one thing I have to play ball with.
Mm,
But me being able to keep a portion or what I want private is something that I feel like everyone should be able to have the option of. So it's like
mm,
once I send it to a shielded address, like that portion of it is now private until I make it public again.
yeah.
So like being able to have that choice is like to me like the bread and butter. Like I can control when someone else knows. Now it's up to me to
Mm,
follow the laws and do what I'm supposed to do. But like I think it's my decision. So if I want to keep all of my financial things private, I can. And the moment that I want to make it public, I can do that as well.
yeah. And I think that's something that definitely, you know, is kind of my point of view in that my life is very normy in a lot of ways. In that, you know, I live in a house and I have a day job and I don't do anything too sketchy. I'm kind of boring. I mean, I do enjoy a cocktail now and again, but other than that, don't do anything that's too like deviant from normalcy or whatever you want to call. I have no reason to do it. Like there is nothing I have wanted to buy that I can even remember in my whole like lifetime or recent years. There's pretty much nothing I wanted to buy that would not be super easy to do with fiat, probably. But it's just the choice for me that and so for me, privacy is kind of I wouldn't say it sounds, maybe dirty on this podcast, say it's the number two, but number two is still pretty high. It's the number two concern for me is choosing what information I decide to reveal at what point. The number one is the actual action of it, the choice of like, if you're going to tell me I have to pay this, I'm going to literally sign the transaction myself and send it over. I'm not going to just have it somewhere else where I have no choice what to do, where someone else takes it. It's all my control 100% of the time. Like, even it's like, and that's one thing that's kind of given me, like philosophically, that's given me, I guess, that irks me about taxes and government and stuff isn't that like you shouldn't pay for good first community service. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be part of a society. I'm very happy to do that. It's just the lack of choice. And so if someone can just confiscate your bank accounts just because whatever, that's no good. But like if they say, hey, you got to pay this much, at least it's my choice to be like, I'm gonna go divulge that. And I think it creates a much better relationship if it's like a voluntary relationship where whoever you're paying, it's not like Planet Fitness just has your bank account and they just drain it forever and you have to like hassle them. It's like, no, every time I want to pay you, I'm going to sign that transaction, make it happen. And then that kind of fosters a better relationship between the parties.
I completely agree. Like that being a choice is like I'm big about informed consent. Like
Mm-hmm.
tell me what I'm allowed to do, tell me what I'm not allowed to do, and then let me make that decision. From there, that's it. Don't inject yourself on how you think I should have to share blah 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 blah. So I love like that's what sold me like on the privacy of Zcash is literally it's like it's my choice. Like we all want things our way. Like this is the first time pretty much like I've ever been able to just be like no one else can take that from me. Like 100% it's mine. My wallet, my keys, everything like that. And until I tell you you can have access, you don't have access. And that's like to me that's pretty fun, pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely a paradigm shift. Now, we're talking about spending and where you could use it. What are some of your dream integrations, new services added, whatever, for Zcash? Since you're pretty like Flexa heavy, I guess. and there's no reason not to be because it works so smoothly and stuff. Like, what are some dream integrations? You mentioned grocery store, but like, name a few of the top ones you'd like to see to be able to spend your Zcash at.
Publix and Target. And it's a joke that I do every single time that I go there. They have a little pay with QR code. Like when you go to some of the Publixes near me and Targets now, like there'll be like a little QR code you can scan from either the Publix or the Target app, and it's a way to pay now. I try it every single time I go. I pull out my Flexa app and hit the scan, like where I just let the little video camera try to scan it. It always tells me invalid QR code, but I know one day I'm gonna be able to walk in there and it's just gonna take the money that I send. And like Publix, grocery stores, there's already a couple movie like Regals on there, but like there's no Regals anywhere near me for the most part. So like I love going to movies. So that's a big one. And then I mean, I guess those are the two huge ones, because I think if they're accepted at one of those two places, it'll be pretty much mainstream by then. But like just being able to go anywhere you feel like going and being able to pay with a private money like that, like that would be awesome. Like I can't wait to wake up to that. 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes.
Yeah, as a very slight aside, what does happen when you scan a QR code with Flexa? Do you know?
Presently, I don't think anything. I think with Banco Agricola or maybe the Flex and Spend shop or something, when you scan the QR code in front of you, it lets you pay. I do know that when I was at Consensus last year, there was like this little thing with MetaMask that I could, at the Consensus store, you could scan the barcode and pay right, pull up a payment link and you can pay. So that's my best guess. But I can't, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you go to the spend screen, it has a little scanner and then it has like a list of merchants. You just like scroll down, and then when you select those, then you get to be scanned. It brings up a QR code on your phone. It's kind of interesting how that works. But yeah, as far as like the grocery store type thing, I seem to remember at some point in the past they might have had Whole Foods on there. They might have, I don't know if they ever implemented the app, but it was just talked about, and I guess that thing fell through. But Whole Paycheck, as it's called, would have been a fun thing to have on there for those who can afford it. But I'm kind of in the unenviable position of having just local type chains around here that probably wouldn't do that. But it's definitely what you said about being able to just like effortlessly go anywhere is kind of the dream, I guess, because today it's like for my life, I do have to like think about how I'm going to act. I have to think about, well, let's see, where am I going to spend? I'm going to go here. Oh, if I go here, I should probably pre-do this. And, like, for example, I have there's a Walmart that I go to. You could buy everything at with, like, Walmart gift cards. And if you buy them and stuff them in the Walmart app and then use the Walmart Pay to scan everywhere, it works so seamlessly. It's great. However, I do have to, like, think about how much of my spending am I going to do at Walmart this week, and so do I have to preload the thinking. And then one thing I was hanging out with Ian from, or the Zec Hub Ian, which, hi if you're watching, when I was in Amsterdam, and my one workaround for not being able to spend crypto a lot of places, the last one is I put like a prepaid Visa card or whatever, I get like a small one, and then put it in like Google Pay, and then I can just tap and pay everywhere. But works a lot better in Europe than it does in rural New Hampshire of the U.S., right? Because most places don't even have like NFC capable payment options these days. And so it is kind of like having to just think about like, wait, what do I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? If I could just go, I mean, I'd probably have no crypto left if I could just spend it like that, because just everywhere. And everywhere there is a place, like there are a few places close to me that do take crypto, including there's a brewery not far called Abel Ebenezer. Shout out, Carl's a great guy. That does take Zcash directly, and they hold it and stuff. So he just gives an iPad, I scan the QR code, boom, there we go, pay for all my beers and stuff. It's great. And I kind of like, it kind of gets me excited to patronize establishments such as that. It's not just, oh, this is how I pay for stuff. Like, I don't think anyone using fiat is just happy to be able to spend it. They kind of want the thing that they get when they spend it, but they're not like, oh, I get to use my card. It's like, now as far as people like us who, I guess before our time, right, make an effort to actually spend this stuff when it might be inconvenient. At least, does that matter? Like, does it matter that people like us try to use it today, even though it's not convenient?
I think it always matters. When everyone stops spending or trying to spend, I think the currency almost loses the point in a sense. That's another reason why I never really got Bitcoin too much, just a store of value. Yeah, it's awesome for a little bit, but if it's so hard to move it around, it's sometimes challenging. So I love just being able, I don't know, to spend, and it being so easily spendable is kind of again, the selling point. If every time you had to sell or buy something with a credit card, you had to write down a really, really long number and then wait 15 to 20 minutes for a confirmation to go through. I don't think anyone would use a credit card, but they had to develop the system to facilitate those things. And it took years. I remember when I was young, my dad had a business. I remember the first time I scanned a credit card, it was on paper. And I had that little back and forth thing, and then we had to wait. And I remember my dad talking about there'd be times when you would submit that to the bank and it would get declined or whatever, and it's the person's been out of your store for a week, 3 days, 5 days. So I think that's being able to just easily spend something is, I think, always going to be the future.
Yeah, and credit cards in particular have been around for something like 80 years, a really long time, but just they didn't really get anywhere until the last 30 or so years, I guess. And probably for that same reason. And I've used, as far as using cards, I've used every step. Obviously I've used paper cash. I've used checks before. Again, a lot of this when I was a little kid, right? Paper cash, checks, and then done manual entry on cards, which is just disgusting. It's terrible. And then obviously a lot of swiping. And then it's not going through. Put the little piece of paper on it before you swipe it, or that whole trick. And then still, I see a lot of swiping these days. Still, which in 2023, I still see a lot of that. And then they went to the chip. Oh, you got to stick the chip in and then wait for it and stuff. And then finally it's getting to the tap, and it's getting to the tap. And then now you have the QR code, which for me, for the last 10 years has been the crypto way. It's scanning QR code. Every time I saw a QR code, I just thought of crypto and not of other things. And then QR codes got to enter the mainstream. And now we're starting to be used for payments for, payment apps and things like that as well. And definitely the NFC, it's kind of crazy at the same time that there's basically no NFC enabled crypto wallets that lets you just that lets you do a tap and pay, tap a wallet to a different wallet or something and just transfer the crypto. And that's kind of a little crazy to me, but I think that's going to be the big sign that we're ready for that next wave of adoption, is when you can actually get, start to do that kind of stuff.
I was thinking about that. I always have the joke in my head that we've had the Apple Wallet for probably 6 or 7 years, maybe longer, who knows. And still, most people that you say Apple Wallet to, they don't even know what you're talking about. They don't even know you can put your card in there. So if you do forget your wallet at home and you have your phone, you can still pay with whatever that thing is. So it's funny. I always think we're further away from adoption than we really are, because if we're 10 years into Apple Wallet and people still don't know what it is, I think crypto is going to take a little bit more than what it's taken for other digital wallets that still just use the old system. But it's funny to me that I can't wait for tap to pay, but it's I think the Apple Wallet has it and no one can figure that out yet. So I hope there's a little bit simpler of a bridge when we do get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I'm kind of, because for all my like payments research and stuff, that's kind of where I've hit at now, is looking into that kind of stuff. And beyond just like first off, I'm one of the few people doing like a tap and pay, like with a phone, paying with a phone anywhere, where I'm at. And then the next level is I'm looking into ways of like doing like a wearable tech, like a watch, like a Samsung watch or whatever, which getting to work with all my like privacy specs phone is, proving to be challenging, but maybe I'll figure it out. But then in my research, I've also found that there's a lot of NFC payment rings that are kind of coming out. They're much more popular in Europe, I guess, and there's very few in the US, and they're still all like coming soon, all that kind of stuff. But without even having to be online, like people like have like a basic, like almost like wedding band looking ring that they're just like beep, you just like tap it on the thing and that's how people pay. And I mean, I don't think that's very far off from mainstream. It's just kind of poking around the corner, but hopefully when you can have some sort of a offline crypto wallet that like when you are online, you pre-sign over or pre-approve a certain balance to be able to be used in this kind of a way, and then you just kind of beep beep beep, you can just do that. I think that's kind of where we end up being really taken off. And I have seen some Bitcoin people experimenting with a little ring kind of payment type thing like that too.
I can't wait for the future of like just where payments go. It's going to be, I think, a really exciting time when there's all these different types of assets out in the world, and like you're just able to pay with what it is that you want to pay, and however, wherever that, like, I'm always going to pay with Zcash, but
of course,
like, just the choice and like the usability and the simplicity is going to be so fun just to see, like looking back, like right now, like we're all early. So like when we get there and then we look back and be like, oh wow, like how far we've come, like it's going to be crazy. Cause like, just like 10 years ago where the cell phones were, like to where they are now. And like some of this like VR tech and like other tech that are just in a short amount of time and just leaps and bounds make so many different types of innovations. Like it's going to be really awesome to see. Yeah,
for sure. What's the favorite thing you've ever spent Zcash on, or what's the favorite, even if it's something you've already done a million times, what was the favorite, I guess, spending instance of it?
I would have to say my favorite was definitely the Chipotle. Just like the first time spending, I don't know, I rushed to Chipotle when that went live. And I was like sending Zcash back and forth, like hoping that it confirmed by the time I got there, because that is the one thing, like you said earlier, it's like you do have to send it. So if you're not prepared or you don't have anything on there, you'd have to probably wait like 15 or 20 minutes for the full confirmation to go through. But I would say my second favorite, like my 2A or 2B, I would say, or 1B, would be the Nordstrom, where I got to show the lady what Zcash was, because like it was like getting to see her expression when she found out, like, oh my god, you mean I can buy Zcash and send it to my family and like be able to like actually provide for them stuff. Like that was like just the cool, like it just felt so awesome just because like you gave her the knowledge, like I always like lead a horse to water but you can't make him drink. Like that was like the coolest experience. I just showed her something that she had no idea of and she was trying to figure out her own solution, and it was just like, oh, I figured it out. Very cool. And it was awesome.
Yeah, it clicks that this is like real stuff. And it's kind of funny that where it clicked for me, because I was into like precious metals and stuff like that before, but you couldn't really do much with it. And it was when I got paid back for lunch, I bought the pizza, and then my friend paid me in Bitcoin and just like sent there. It was like, oh, this is cool. And then later, of course, I ran around and, you know, like, oh, this is before the payment apps like Venmo, like 2013. There wasn't a lot of that stuff going on. And just being able to send back and forth, like between friends, just scan a QR code, send it. Here, you got it. Just like the digital cash, like the ease of that. Not like, well, let's figure out what's your bank provider. Let's do this. Let's like just download an app and zap, and there you go. That was kind of that kind of clicked for me. So yeah, those magic moments that kind of make things cool. And then I guess one thing that I kind of look forward to. I mean, I have kind of showed a couple people, but like, is showing people like a block explorer and just showing like, here's your transparent transaction. Here's who it's to. Here's who it's from. Anyone in the world can see this. And then here it goes to shielded. And shielded is shielded. Here's what it shows. Nothing. It's just nothing. It's just sent. It's like, wow, that's cool. And that's the kind of stuff that really, clicks to the average person that, maybe not for the, maybe the nerds have already sort of figured that stuff out ahead of time, but that's kind of where it really hits. And so, yeah, really cool stuff. Well, thanks very much for coming on and sharing some of your voyage, your commute, road trip kind of with the rest of us. Do you have any parting thoughts? And also, I checked the time. It looks like it's shill o'clock. So whatever you want to shill, wherever you want to promote, yeah, floor is yours. What do you want to say?
I'm not going to promote anything. I love this space. Web3, it feels like it's a home. So I'm always going to be here. And I love anything that kind of helps something else. So that's like in my in real life job, I have always been like a helper. I've always done something like basically of service, in a speak. And I feel like a lot of what like sharing about Zcash and sharing about different types of ways to pay and different merchants, and that's all like it's doing that service, because there's people who don't know this is a real thing. There's people who are stuck in the traditional system that just don't know anything about it. So like I think this is more about like letting people know, because that's like the only way it's going to really spread to mass adoption, is by getting outside of like the echo chamber that Twitter is and that certain of these like forums are. Like if we're only staying within those forums, it's going to be hard to really get many more people into this space. So the more that we can share what we're doing, the more people are going to come in.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Definitely. I tend to be a little too shy sometimes about like my weird crypto life, and I should probably talk to people more about it, but yeah.
My wife will tell you, everyone, that all my not old in real life friends, my in real life friends that I don't speak to too much anymore, because I'm always consumed with like, I always talk about crypto now. It's like everything that I think about for the most part is like how things are going to change and what ways that you can help them change and like all those types of things. And I can't get through a 2-second, hey, good morning, how are you today? And I'm like, well, and then I'll go on a diatribe of something new in the space that someone should know about, and they look at me like, what? But I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And it is something that I could talk about for hours and hours. I mean, that's kind of what I just did right today on this show. But like, I could probably fill in an 8-hour time window doing nothing but talking about crypto. And a big chunk of that, of course, would be about Zcash and privacy and why shielded or GTFO, all that kind of good stuff. All right, well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. This has been a great chat. Thanks, Jake, for sharing his insights into the world of actually using Zcash as a day-to-day money, something that I wish a lot more people were doing, but definitely something that I'm doing my part in. And so thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And if you are going to ZCon, I will be at ZCon. Are you going to ZCon, Jake?
I will not be able to.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go in your stead.
Next one, I will be there. This year I had some things thrown up at me in life, so
yeah,
couldn't really make it. I was planning to, I think, in like March, when I got kind of like the notice of it there was going on, but I just couldn't make it work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'll be there for you. I'll get a T-shirt with your face printed on it and just show up there. So Jake's here in spirit, and hopefully next year. But yeah, I'll be at ZCon. Everyone else who's going to be there, make sure to say hi. And yeah, next month, I haven't figured out who I'm going to have on the podcast yet, but obviously it's going to be a good one. And then, as the lead-in to ZCon. But anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. Enjoy your vacation, Jake. And everyone else, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.